The doctrine of double effect provides specific guidelines how to act when there could be unintended and bad effects. According to the doctrine, it's morally permissible to act in pursuit of the intended effect, even though there are going to be side effects, if and only if the four principles are upheld. The first principle is that the act in itself must be morally good or at least morally neutral. The second principle is that you cannot intend the bad effect, only the good effect must be intended. The third principle is that a good effect must be produced directly by the agent's actions. The bad effect must not produce the good effect, and the bad effect must not come before the good effect. And lastly, the fourth principle is that the bad effect cannot outweigh the good effect. There are some vegans who use this, and I have noticed that many vegans like to appeal to intentions when they are confronted with dilemmas. So let's now use the doctrine and see where it leads us. Vegans generally believe that it's justified to kill and eat an animal in case of starvation, so the good effect would be survival and the bad effect would be that an innocent sentient being is exploited and harmed. According to the doctrine, that wouldn't be permissible. It violates the second and the third for sure. But we have vegans like this philosopher.
If the only way that I could get food in order to stop myself from starving was to go and kill another person, legally or morally, I don't think this can be justified. There might be some ethical theories, certainly like egoism, almost certainly would say so. But I think most people's, at least their ethical intuitions, would say that I don't get to go and murder somebody because it's the only way to feed me. Even if it means I starve, that doesn't mean I have the right to go and take someone else's life. Why? Well, potentially because they have this thing called the right to life. They have a right that I can't violate, even if it means that I'm going to starve to death. Let's say I need to murder them to steal their food or something like that. This isn't something we think is justified. If we were to apply that right to life to non-human animals, then now consider the animals that are killed in crop production.
What we can point towards in this scenario is what is called the rule of double effect. Now, you point towards a scenario in which, well, if a human must kill an animal to survive, its right to life no longer applies. This is absolutely false. So what the rule of double effect teaches us is that at times when we have conflicting duties, we should choose the duty which is the highest order. That means the duty which we are most bound to, that which we are most obligated or obliged to respect. This comes at points in which we have no choice but to respect one duty over another. For example, if an individual attacks you in the street and you have to defend yourself, do they have the right to life? Of course they do. But you have the right to self-defense. You have the right to life. It's not that they no longer have the right to life, it's that in respecting your right to life, in respecting your greater obligation to your right to life and your right to self-defense, that you are unfortunately forced to end their life, unless it can be avoided. And this is why we have use of force laws. You're not allowed to kill someone simply because they attack you. You have to use reasonable force, if possible, to deter the attacker or prevent them from harming you without using lethal force when necessary. You do not need to negate the right to life of an animal in order to respect your own right to life, which may lead to the animal's death.
It really seems that he's twisting it. It's about not intending bad effects and not doing bad actions. He seems to be twisting it to cover for himself, because he would kill an innocent human or animal just to save his own ass.
This is exactly the reason why if a vegan is on a desert island, yes, he can eat a pig. And this is exactly why I will say, if I'm on a desert island and it's me and somebody else, well then I'm sorry, but it's also somebody else.
Being an aggressor and killing an innocent in order to survive is not the same thing as killing someone in self-defense, so his point fails because he was trying to justify the former with the latter. Let's use the doctrine now on crop deaths. The good effect is that we can eat and survive. The bad effect is that animals die. Seemingly, it's impermissible. The third premise is violated because the bad effect is not a consequence of the good effect. It occurs way before the good effect. It would possibly violate the fourth principle. especially if animals die in production of things which vegans would use for sensory pleasures. The usage of pesticides would probably violate the other two. It doesn't even have to be crop deaths. It could be any situation where animals suffer and or die. If I'm right here, the doctrine is not a vegan friend. It can be used against things or actions which vegans believe are morally permissible.